Hello again. Um, Indulge me just a second here, okay? I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. I started this video twice already, and the second time it kicked me off, and rather than yield to its misbehavior, I'm just going to try to pick up where I left off. I apologize for that. But I think where we were was I was trying to say this get channel is not the same as that get channel. I mean, the functions, if we were to look inside, let's not even talk about that. We're not going to look inside. These functions are two different function calls on two different objects, just as if the dog structure, I think I had started talking about dog structures, but who knows. If I have dog structure number one, dot name, gets me Solomon, dog structure number two, dot name, the same variable gives me Darby, I don't worry about that because I know every separate dog structure has its very own name. Well, here's a new idea to get used to. Every TV object has its very own get channel function. They behave very similarly, but they're going to probably get different things, especially if they're set to different channels. So if my Sony is on channel 5, my Samsung is on channel 8, get channel on the Sony Plasma object will return 5. Get channel on the Samsung LCD object will return 8. Ooh, what if I throw it a curveball and just call get channel without any dot variable or anything like that out front? Well, that won't even compile. It's going to look for a freewheeling, open to the world function called get channel, probably at the bottom of this source code file, and there ain't none. There is no separate get channel function outside of a TV object, so that function call has no place to go. That's how we want it. We only want get channel to make sense if we're using that in conjunction with the TV object. And I think, is that all of the massive cout statement starts on line 20? Well, line 25 does the same thing with the Samsung LCD, calls get volume. So it's going to call get volume on this object, not just a plain old function, but a function that's buried somewhere invisibly inside the TV object. That get volume function is going to do its magic and send us back what the volume is. Current volume setting, whatever that may be. Okay? Then, let's see. It says on line 27, mess with the channel and the volume controls. Prints out a line, Sony channel up, Samsung volume down. Just to explain what it's doing. And it messes with them 3 times in a row. Line 29, for I is 0, I is less than 3 plus I. That's the standard way to set up a for loop that you want to execute 3 times. Start it off at 0, keep going as long as I is less than 3. Let's look at one time through. Now notice, I don't use variable I in there anywhere. Line 30 says Sony Plasma dot set channel up. Let me piece that apart again. Sony Plasma is the name of the TV object that I want to use right now. Dot set channel up. A dead giveaway, whether it's an accessor or a mutator, is typically going to be, does it say get, in which case it's an accessor, give me the value, or set, in which case I'm going to change something, that's going to be a mutator function. This one is a mutator, set channel up. Here's a mysterious thing though. Well, let me get rid of the unmysterious. The unmysterious is empty parentheses, therefore we are signaling our secret signal to the compiler. This is a function call, not a variable. So we're telling it, call the function set channel up on the object Sony Plasma. We don't pass in any parameters. That's because set channel up is just going to bump up the channel by 1. It doesn't need any parameters. Oh no, how is it going to do that? Maybe with a plus plus. Maybe it's going to save it and then bring it back and all that other stuff. Maybe it's going to call its own separate function. You know what I'm going to say. It's none of our business. Don't know, don't care. Do whatever you got to do, Sony Plasma TV object. Do whatever you got to do to set the channel up and get back to me when you're done. This doesn't return anything. You notice I'm not printing out a return value. It doesn't check anything. It's changing the state of the object. If the channel is 5 and that set channel up does its job properly, then if we were to call get channel again, next time we'd get 6. But there is not even any visible manifestation of that from line 30. All it's doing is setting the channel up, changing the internal state of the object, and that's it. We don't see any external sign of that. We don't even get a return true false value. We just tell the TV, okay, I'm pushing the up button because I'm too lazy to punch in the numbers that I want. So I push the up button, up your channel by 1. So it should go from 5 to 6. What about the next line? Very similar. Samsung LCD. Now we're talking about this TV object. Samsung LCD, set your volume down. You're too loud. So let's pretend the volume is 10. So when we call set volume down, even though we don't see anything, it should change the internal state of the Samsung LCD object so that the volume is now 9. Bump down the volume by 1 increment. Now, how do I even know what those operations are going to do? Someone went to the trouble to, whoops, did I lose it? No, okay. Someone went to the trouble to start off at the highest level of abstraction and design at the ADT level. They designed what they wanted the TV object to be able to do. Included in the operations were, I want to be able to move the channel up by 1, move the channel down by 1. I also want to be able to move the volume up by 1, move the volume down by 1. So we know what to expect of the behavior of these objects. What is hidden from us is how they do it. Oh, do you use some fancy algorithm to change the volume? Do you just have a variable and you're just changing the number of the variable? We don't know. We don't care. The nice people at Microsoft or at Sony or Samsung, whoever implemented these TV objects, they took care of all the behind-the-scenes technical details. We are blissfully and mercifully unaware of that in the main program. All we got to know is how to use it. That's all we got to know. So if we know there is a set channel up function, a set channel down function, set volume up, set volume down, then we can call those functions on those objects, and that is all we need to know, aside from understanding what to expect from the behavior. Moving right along in the main program, show what we have now. So what it does is, as it's going through the for loop, after it sets a channel up and sets the volume down, it calls all of the accessors again, all the ones that it did. Prints out the channel and the volume for this one, channel and the volume for that one. That's just to illustrate that somehow or another, if these are working correctly, then it did do what we asked it to do. It bumped up the channel on this one and bumped down the volume on this one. It's just verification. We didn't have to print it out, but it called the accessors again to print it out to see whether or not this did as advertised, what it was supposed to do. Then go the other way. Oh, I'm mixing it up now. Actually, I was running out of ideas. What else could I do to demonstrate the behavior here in the main program? On the go the other way, starting on line 41, it just goes through a longer for loop. Here's how the behavior was designed. The behavior was designed so that the channel does what's called wraparound. Old school channels, the only channels that are available, it's a secret, but I'm going to divulge some secrets here, but perhaps I shouldn't. But the TV objects can only handle channels 1 through 13. So if you sit here and push the up button, up, it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and then it does what's called wrapping around. I keep getting these warnings from the camera. I hope this is continuous. Who knows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Then it wraps back around to 1. And goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on again. I think that's how a real TV would do it. When you get to the maximum channel, if you keep pushing the up button on the remote, it goes back around to the first channel. Oh no. How does it do that? I need a t-shirt so I can just point at it. None of our business. It does it. That's all we need to know. It is in control. Part of what an object is responsible for, it is in control of its own state. If it only knows about channels 1 through 13, then if channel somehow gets set to channel 15, that's the fault of the object. That's not our fault. Because the object is responsible for its own state. All the private stuff in there. It's got to make sure that it all makes sense internally. It follows the internal logic and design for an object of that type. I talked about the channel on Sony Plasma. Channel works the same way on Samsung LCD. They're two objects of the same type. I guess we could call them old school TVs. They can only handle 13 channels. Let me talk the volume over here. The volume, when you push the up on the volume, that goes 1 through 10. But when it gets to 10, it doesn't wrap around. It doesn't go any further. If you're pushing the up button on the volume, and the volume is 10, it just stays there. It just stays at volume 10. Why? Well, I think also that's how the real one works. It's my simulation of how a real one works. That's how the design of the TV object was set up. More importantly, the down button. If you push down, 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 because you want it to get quieter and quieter. I'll venture a guess that you do not want that to wrap around. If you're pushing the down button because the TV's too loud, and it goes 3, 2, 1, you don't want that to wrap around to volume 10. So if you go 3, 2, 1, maybe 1 is the lowest, I don't remember, maybe 0. I don't even have to remember. The TV object itself is responsible for keeping up with those sorts of things. But I do remember the behavior that when you get to the bottom of the volume, there is no wraparound. So how can we keep those separate? How can we remember that the TV channel is going to wrap around, but the volume is not, and all that? How do we keep up in our calls to get channel, get volume, set channel, set volume? We don't need to remember. The TV object is responsible for that behavior. It will remember for us. It will remember that if you get down to the minimum volume, it just sticks there if you keep pushing the down arrow. It takes care of its own business, just like we need to mind ours up here in the main program. I am about to get kicked off again if I haven't been already. I don't know what the heck's going on. I tell you, I've turned off Wi-Fi. I've turned off Wi-Fi access on every machine in this house. So I think it's just about to give up the ghost. I don't know what's going on. You know what? I was going to do all of the source code in Video V, so this is going to throw the lettering off a little bit. But I ain't going to do that. You know, this is the outside looking in view. This is actually a nice place to stop. This is all example 8 needs to know. It needs to know how to use the TVs, and I've described that. Oh no, how is it doing what's doing? We don't care. In Video V, we don't care. We are the outside. We are looking through the interface. The implementation is totally behind the curtain to us. We don't have any idea what variables are in there. We don't have any idea what's going on. All we know is the interface gave us prototypes for these functions, so we know that we can call those functions if we want to. The end of Video V. If the thing is still recording, who knows? I'll see you online.